The moment my son whispered those words, "Mom, my business partner doesn't like you. Basically, you're not welcome here." The air in the cramped office seemed to freeze, the hum of the fluorescent light suddenly feeling louder than any conversation I'd ever had with him. I stood rooted to the spot, a mix of disbelief and a familiar ache tightening in my chest, as the weight of his confession pressed against the fragile confidence I'd rebuilt after years of being told I didn't belong. I had always tried to be the supportive mother, the one who cheered from the sidelines while my son chased his entrepreneurial dreams. When he first talked about his startup, I'd offered advice, helped with the little things, printing flyers, making coffee for early meetings, hoping my involvement would show I believed in him. Little did I know that one of his partners saw my presence as a threat, a reminder that the business had roots outside their tight-knit circle. In the main part of that painful encounter, my son's voice trembled as he relayed the partner's cold assessment. "He thinks you're too involved," he said, eyes darting to the floor. The partner, a sharp-tongued colleague who'd always kept his distance, had apparently made it clear that my presence made the team uncomfortable, suggesting I didn't understand the professional landscape. The accusation cut deeper than any harsh word from a stranger. It felt like a verdict handed down by the very person who should have stood beside me. I thought back to the early days of my own struggles, late-night study sessions, the restaurant I'd fought to open, the not good enough whispers that had once echoed in my own marriage. Now, my son's partner was echoing those same doubts, and my son, caught between loyalty and the desire to keep his venture afloat, seemed ready to side with the one who could make or break the business. I took a slow breath, feeling the sting of rejection, but also a spark of the fire that had once lit the kitchen of my restaurant. I told him that while I couldn't control how others felt, I would not be erased from his life simply because someone else was uneasy. I reminded him that true partnership, whether in business or family, requires respect, and that "not welcome" was a phrase that should never be accepted without question. I suggested setting a boundary. I would step back from the day-to-day operations but remain a supportive mother outside the office walls, unless invited. In the closing moments, as the office lights flickered back to their steady glow, my son nodded, the tension easing just enough for a tentative peace. I left the building with my head held high, knowing the hurt would linger, but also recognizing that my worth isn't dictated by someone else's approval. I've learned that sometimes the hardest choices involve walking away from places that don't recognize your value, and that a mother's love can remain steadfast even when doors are shut.